I didn't expect her to actually kiss me. The alien woman surprised me. First contact. Elias Chen wiped his brow as he calibrated the atmospheric regulators in Horizon Station's central hub. After 3 years as lead environmental engineer on humanity's most ambitious deep space outpost, he still found himself marveling at the view. Through the massive observation windows, the crimson gas clouds of the Cygnus Nebula swirled against the backdrop of distant stars. "Engineer Chen, your presence is requested in the diplomatic quarter," came the station AI's voice through his comm unit. "The Australian delegation has arrived." Elias sighed. He'd forgotten about the diplomatic reception scheduled for today. As one of the station's senior staff, his attendance was mandatory, though technical schematics were far more comfortable company than stilted political conversation. The diplomatic quarter buzzed with activity when he arrived. Representatives from Earth's United Coalition mingled with the newly arrived visitors from Astrael, the mysterious civilization whose existence had only been confirmed 5 years earlier. That's when he saw her. Standing apart from her delegation was a woman unlike any he'd encountered. Her skin was a soft purple, almost luminous under the station lights. Dark, iridescent hair cascaded down her back, seemingly shifting colors as she moved. Most striking were her eyes, large and almond-shaped with irises of deep violet that seemed to hold the mysteries of distant galaxies. Ambassador Lin nudged him forward. "Elias, meet Vieira, science attaché to the Australian Diplomatic Corps. You two will be collaborating on the atmospheric compatibility project." Vieira tilted her head slightly as she regarded him. "Engineer Chen," she said, her voice melodious with an accent that made ordinary words sound like poetry. "I have studied your work on adaptive environmental systems. Most innovative." "Thank you," Elias managed, suddenly aware of his rumpled uniform. "I've been looking forward to learning about Australian atmospheric technology. Have you?" Her lips curved into what might have been amusement. Most humans I've encountered prefer to teach rather than learn. Elias felt heat rise to his face. "I'm not most humans." "That remains to be seen," she replied, but the subtle shift in her expression suggested curiosity rather than dismissal. Over the following days, they worked side by side in the environmental lab. Vieira moved with graceful precision, her fingers, 5 on each hand just like his, manipulating holographic displays with remarkable dexterity. Despite their professional interaction, Elias found himself distracted by small details. The way her purple skin seemed to shimmer when she concentrated. How her eyes reflected the blue light of the computer terminals. Their conversations were initially limited to technical matters, but gradually expanded. Vieira asked about Earth's oceans, expressing wonder at the concept of vast bodies of water. In turn, Elias learned that Australians communicated not just through words, but subtle shifts in their bioluminescence, a fact that explained why he sometimes felt she was saying more than her words conveyed. "You stare," she observed one evening as they calibrated sensors together. "Is my appearance disturbing to you?" "No," Elias answered honestly. "Just different. Beautiful, actually." The word slipped out before he could stop it. Vieira's skin briefly pulsed with a brighter hue, a reaction he couldn't interpret. "Different," she repeated softly. "Yes, as are you to me." She reached out hesitantly, her fingers hovering near his face. "May I?" When he nodded, she gently touched his cheek, her expression one of scientific curiosity mixed with something more personal. "Your species fascinates me, Elias Chen," she whispered. "Particularly you." The moment was interrupted by an alert. Environmental systems in Sector 7 needed immediate attention. As they rushed to respond to the crisis, Elias realized that something had shifted between them, a connection forming across the vast differences of their worlds, as unexpected as it was undeniable. Cultural bridges. The environmental crisis in Sector 7 proved fortuitous for Elias and Vieira's relationship. For 26 hours straight, they worked alongside each other, making rapid adjustments to stabilize the station's failing atmospheric regulators. Their collaboration was seamless, Elias anticipating Vieira's needs before she voiced them, Vieira instinctively understanding his technical shorthand. "We make an effective team," Vieira observed as they finally restored normal operations. The soft purple glow of her skin had dimmed with fatigue, but her eyes remained bright. "We do," Elias agreed, surprising himself with how natural it felt to work with someone so different from himself. Captain Saravia was impressed enough to officially assign them as partners on the Atmospheric Compatibility Project, AE, crucial initiative to create shared spaces where both humans and Australians could exist comfortably without environmental suits. One evening, as they worked late in the lab, Vieira mentioned an upcoming Australian observance. "It is the Festival of Resonance," she explained, adjusting the molecular density settings on their test chamber. "A time when we celebrate the harmonic connections between beings." "Like a religious holiday?" Elias asked, curious about Australian culture. Vieira tilted her head, considering. "Not religious in your sense, more an acknowledgement of the quantum entanglement that binds all conscious life." She hesitated before adding, "Would you attend as my guest?" No human has participated before. The festival was held in the Australian section of the station, where the lighting had been dimmed to a soft purple glow reminiscent of Astrael's twin moons. Elias felt conspicuous among the purple-skinned attendees who regarded him with curious glances. The celebration began with music unlike anything Elias had heard, sounds produced by instruments that responded to the bioelectric fields of their players. As the only human present, he was unsure how to participate until Vieira approached, holding a small crystalline object. "This is a resonance crystal," she explained. "It attunes to your unique energy signature." When she placed it in his palm, the crystal warmed and emitted a soft humming tone that somehow felt like an expression of his essence. Around them, Australians held similar crystals, creating a complex harmony. "Now we share," Vieira said softly, extending her hand. Elias placed his crystal next to hers. The two tones merged, creating a new sound that rippled through the room. Several Australians turned to look, their expressions unreadable to Elias. "What does it mean?" he whispered, noticing how Vieira's skin had brightened. "It means our energies are compatible," she replied, her voice carrying a note of surprise. "Quite rare even among our own kind." Later, as the gathering moved to a ceremonial meal, an elder Australian approached them. He spoke to Vieira in their native language, a flowing series of sounds punctuated by subtle luminescent pulses from his skin. Though Elias couldn't understand the words, the disapproval was clear. When they were alone again, Elias asked, "What did he say?" Vieira's gaze was distant. "He believes I risk disrupting our cultural harmony by bringing you so deeply into our traditions." Her eyes refocused on Elias. "But traditions evolve, do they not?" That night, she taught him an Australian meditation ritual, sitting face to face, palms nearly touching, sharing breath. In the soft purple light of her quarters, Elias found himself entranced by her presence, the subtle fragrance that reminded him of night-blooming jasmine from Earth. "Your mind is turbulent," she observed, her violet eyes searching his. "I'm not used to being this connected to someone," he admitted. Vieira smiled, then leaned forward unexpectedly. Her lips brushed against his, gentle, exploratory, electric. Elias froze in surprise before responding to the kiss, his heart racing at the alien yet familiar intimacy. When she pulled away, her skin was pulsing with bright waves of light. "That is a human tradition, is it not?" she asked, a hint of mischief in her voice. "It is," Elias managed to reply, still stunned by the intensity of his response to her. "I've been studying your customs," Vieira said softly. "I find them fascinating, particularly this one." As she leaned in for another kiss, Elias realized he had crossed an invisible boundary, one that would forever change his understanding of connection across the stars. Whispers among stars. The Atmospheric Compatibility Project progressed rapidly under Elias and Vieira's combined expertise. Their prototype chamber successfully maintained conditions comfortable for both species, a breakthrough that would change interspecies relations forever. Yet as their professional success grew, so did the complications of their personal relationship. Word of their closeness spread through the station. Elias noticed the sidelong glances from his human colleagues, the whispered comments that stopped when he entered rooms. The Australian delegation was more direct, several formally requesting that Vieira limit her cultural exchange to official functions. "They fear what they don't understand," Vieira told him one evening as they calibrated the neural interface for the environmental control system. "Humans fear our biological differences. My people fear emotional contamination." "Emotional contamination?" Elias repeated, Vieira's skin dimmed slightly. Australians value emotional balance above all. Some believe humans experience emotions too intensely, too chaotically. They worry I will become unstable. And what do you believe? Elias asked, setting aside his tools to meet her gaze. I believe they are right to be concerned, she replied, a small smile playing at her lips. I find myself experiencing emotions in ways I never have before. It is disruptive and exhilarating. Their conversation was interrupted by a station-wide alert. A micrometeor storm had damaged the station's shield generators. All personnel were ordered to emergency stations. Elias and Vieira rushed to the Environmental Control Center, where reports indicated catastrophic failures in multiple sectors. As the only experts who fully understood both human and Australian life support requirements, they worked frantically to maintain survivable conditions throughout the station. Sector 12 is losing pressure, Vieira reported, her fingers flying over the controls. The Australian residential quarters will be uninhabitable in minutes. Reroute life support from the hydroponics bay, Elias suggested. We can sacrifice the plants temporarily. For hours, they fought to keep both populations alive, making impossible choices about resource allocation, while repair teams worked to restore the shield generators. In the midst of the crisis, an explosion rocked the station. Emergency bulkheads slammed down, isolating sections of the station, including the control center where they worked. Station-wide systems failure imminent, the AI announced dispassionately. Emergency protocols engaged. The lights flickered and died, leaving only the soft purple glow of Vieira's skin illuminating the darkness. Environmental systems went offline, and the temperature began to drop rapidly. The backup generators should have activated, Elias said, his breath visible in the increasingly cold air. The damage must be more extensive than we thought, Vieira replied, her luminescence brightening as she moved closer to him. Elias, without life support, he understood the implication. The temperature would continue to plummet. Standard procedure was to activate emergency hibernation protocols, but those were designed for single-species scenarios. The emergency survival pods, Elias suggested. They maintain minimal life support for up to 72 hours. There was just one problem. The pods were calibrated for human physiology. The cold was already affecting Vieira. Australians were more sensitive to temperature changes. I can recalibrate one, Elias said, moving toward the emergency equipment locker. But there's only enough power for one pod. Then you must use it, Vieira insisted, her voice weakening. I can enter metabolic stasis, but it's risky in these conditions. Elias shook his head. I have another idea. The survival pod was designed for one human, but it could fit them both if they lay close together. Elias modified the atmospheric mix to accommodate Vieira's respiratory needs, then adjusted the temperature to a compromise that would be uncomfortable for both, but dangerous to neither. As they slipped into the pod together, Vieira's skin brightened with concern. Your human colleagues would consider this inappropriate, she observed as their bodies pressed together in the confined space. Survival trumps protocol, Elias replied, though he knew there was more to it than pragmatism. In the intimate darkness of the pod, with Vieira's luminescent skin casting a gentle purple glow over them, the barriers between their worlds seemed to dissolve. Her body against his was alien yet familiar, two beings finding comfort in shared warmth. If we don't survive this, Vieira whispered, her face inches from his, I want you to know that meeting you has been the most significant event of my existence. Instead of replying with words, Elias closed the distance between them. Their kiss deepened with an urgency born of danger and desire. Vieira's skin pulsed with waves of bright light that illuminated the pod as her arms wrapped around him, pulling him closer. In that moment, suspended between life and death, human and alien, they found a connection that transcended the physical differences between their species. A resonance that felt, to Elias, like coming home to a place he'd never been before. Celestial Divide rescue came 36 hours later. When emergency crews finally breached the sealed section, they found Elias and Vieira in the survival pod, alive but weakened. Their survival was immediately celebrated as a testament to human-Australian cooperation, until the nature of their improvised arrangement became clear. The station's medical officer, Dr. Kapoor, observed them with clinical detachment. You're lucky to be alive, she told them as they recovered in adjacent beds in the medical bay. The modifications you made to that pod shouldn't have worked. But they did, Elias pointed out. Because we understood each other's needs, Vera added. Her skin still pale from the ordeal, Dr. Kapoor's expression remained neutral. The Command Council has requested a full report on the incident. They're particularly interested in your unorthodox survival strategy. News traveled quickly through the station. What had been whispers became open discussion. The successful completion of the atmospheric compatibility project should have been cause for celebration, but instead Elias found himself summoned to Captain Saravia's office. You've put me in a difficult position, Chen, the captain said, not bothering with pleasantries. The United Coalition is concerned about the nature of your relationship with Science Attaché Vieira. My relationship is personal, Captain, Elias replied stiffly. Nothing is personal when it involves the first diplomatic contact with an alien species, Saravia countered. There are protocols, careful negotiations that have taken years. Your involvement with Vieira complicates matters. With respect, Captain, I don't see how. Saravia sighed, her expression softening slightly. The Australian High Council has expressed concern that Vieira has been influenced by human emotional patterns. They're considering recalling their entire delegation. The implications were clear. Everything they had worked for, the atmospheric compatibility breakthrough, the potential for shared colonies, the exchange of technology, was at risk because of his feelings for Vera. Meanwhile, Vera faced her own confrontation. Elder Thelian, head of the Australian delegation, summoned her to a formal inquiry. Your bioluminescent patterns show dangerous instability, he told her, his own skin pulsing with disapproving patterns. The resonance readings from your survival pod incident indicate you have formed an inappropriate bond with the human engineer. Our bond saved both our lives, Vera countered. At what cost? Elder Thelian's luminescence darkened. You were selected for this mission because of your exceptional emotional control, yet you have allowed yourself to be influenced by human emotional extremes. Perhaps those extremes have value we've overlooked, she suggested. The elder's expression hardened. You will return to Astriel for reconditioning, or we will terminate all negotiations with the humans. When Vera told Elias of the ultimatum, they met in secret in the station's arboretum, among the plants that represented Earth's diverse ecosystems. I won't go, she said, her violet eyes reflecting the artificial starlight projected on the arboretum ceiling. My work here is too important. Your people will cut ties with humanity, Elias reminded her gently. Everything we've worked for will be lost. Is that what you want? For me to leave? Her skin dimmed with the question. Elias reached for her hand, feeling the now familiar texture of her purple skin against his. I want what's best for both our peoples, but I also want you. He hesitated before continuing. I've been offered a position on the Europa Research Station. It's remote, away from politics and scrutiny. I could request a transfer. And I would be what? A fugitive from my own people? Vieira's luminescence pulsed with conflicted emotions. Or a pioneer, Elias suggested, the first of your kind to choose your own path. As they debated their future, Admiral Chen, Elias's father and a senior official in the United Coalition, arrived on Horizon Station, ostensibly for a routine inspection. The Admiral requested a private dinner with his son. In the sterile formality of the officer's dining room, he made his position clear. Your relationship with the alien woman is creating diplomatic complications at the highest levels, he said, his voice carrying the authority that had shaped interplanetary policy for decades. I've arranged for your immediate transfer to the Mars Colonial Administration. You'll leave tomorrow. I won't go, Elias replied, meeting his father's stern gaze. This isn't a request, Engineer Chen. It's an order. Then I resign my commission. Admiral Chen's expression hardened. Think carefully, Elias. This infatuation isn't worth throwing away your career, your future. It's not infatuation, Elias said quietly, and my future is my choice to make. That night, as Horizon Station rotated into its artificial night cycle, Elias and Vieira met one last time. In the dim light of observation deck, with the Cygnus Nebula swirling beyond the reinforced glass, they held each other close. My father has made his position clear, Elias told her, as has your elder Thelian. Vera's skin pulsed with a soft, sad glow. We always knew our worlds might not be ready for us. Their kiss was tinged with desperation and uncertainty. Tomorrow would bring painful choices, separations, consequences. But tonight, in this moment suspended between stars, they belonged only to each other. Two beings from different worlds who had found something rare and precious in the vastness of space. Cosmic harmony. 6 months later, on the remote outpost of Ganymede Station, Dr. Maya Okafor reviewed the latest arrival manifest with mild interest. Jupiter's largest moon hosted only a small research facility, focused on xenobiology and deep space communications. Work considered important but not prestigious enough to attract high-profile scientists. "We have a new environmental engineer arriving on tomorrow's transport," her assistant noted. "Transferred from Mars Colonial Administration." Maya raised an eyebrow. "Mars to Ganymede? That's usually a demotion." Transfer was requested by the engineer. "Name's Chen, Elias Chen." The name was vaguely familiar. Maya recalled hearing something about an engineer who had worked closely with the Australian delegation on Horizon Station. There had been rumors of some diplomatic incident, but details were scarce this far from Earth. When the transport arrived the following day, Maya was surprised to see not one, but two figures disembark. Elias Chen, a serious-looking man with intelligent eyes, was accompanied by an Australian woman whose purple skin seemed particularly vivid against the sterile white of the arrival bay. "Dr. Okafor," Chen greeted her formally. "Thank you for approving my transfer. This is Vera, formerly of the Australian Diplomatic Corps. She'll be working with me on the Environmental Adaptation Project." Maya had received no notification about an Australian joining her staff. There must be some mistake. "I wasn't informed." "There's no mistake," came a new voice. Admiral Patel, Earth's representative to the Outer Planets Alliance, stepped forward from the transport. "Vera's presence here is classified at the highest levels." Later, in the privacy of her office, Admiral Patel explained the situation. "What I'm about to tell you isn't common knowledge. 6 months ago, the Australian delegation withdrew from Horizon Station after a diplomatic disagreement." "I heard rumors," Maya admitted. "What you didn't hear is that one of their diplomats refused to return home. She requested asylum with the United Coalition." The Admiral's expression remained neutral, but her eyes conveyed the significance. "It's unprecedented. No Australian has ever chosen to live among humans permanently." "Because of Chen?" Maya guessed. Admiral Patel nodded. "Partially, but also because she believes her people are making a mistake by limiting contact with humans." She leaned forward. "The official position is that Vera returned to Astriel. Her presence here must remain confidential while negotiations continue." The implications were clear. Maya's remote station had suddenly become the site of a diplomatic experiment that could shape interspecies relations for generations to come. Over the following months, Elias and Vera transformed Ganymede Station. Their atmospheric compatibility technology, refined and improved, created truly shared spaces where humans and the occasional visiting Australian could interact without environmental barriers. More importantly, their presence together, working, living, loving openly, became a quiet testament to possibility. Word spread carefully, through scientific channels and diplomatic back channels. A small but growing number of humans and Australians began to question the official policies of separation and limited contact. 1 year after their arrival, a small delegation arrived from Astrael, not to demand Vera's return but to observe what she and Elias had created. "Your bioluminescence has stabilized," Elder Thelian noted with surprise when he met with Vera privately. "Our scientists predicted your patterns would become increasingly erratic away from our people." "Perhaps your scientists don't understand everything about our biology," Vera replied calmly. "Or about the nature of emotional resonance." The elder's skin pulsed with reluctant acknowledgement. "The High Council is reconsidering its position on human-Australian integration." Meanwhile, Admiral Chen finally agreed to meet with his son. Their reunion was tense but not hostile. A father struggling to understand his son's choices. A son secure enough in those choices to forgive his father's disapproval. "Your work here is impressive," the Admiral admitted as Elias showed him the environmental systems. "The Coalition's xenobiologists are particularly interested in the shared physiology implications." "It's not just about technology," Elias tried to explain. "It's about proving that different species can find common ground. can build something together that neither could create alone. Admiral Chen studied his son thoughtfully. You really love her, don't you? I do, Elias answered simply. The Admiral nodded slowly. Then perhaps I need to reconsider some of my assumptions. 6 months later, on the observation deck of Ganymede Station, Elias and Vera stood together watching Jupiter's swirling storms through the reinforced viewport. A small gathering of humans and Australians, some in person, others participating via holographic projection, had assembled to witness something unprecedented. Are you nervous? Elias asked softly, squeezing Vera's hand. Her purple skin glowed with a steady, warm light. No. This feels right, like the natural culmination of our journey together. The ceremony combined elements from both cultures, an exchange of resonance crystals, their tones now permanently harmonized, alongside the traditional human exchange of vows and rings. Dr. Maya Okafor, now a friend as well as a colleague, officiated with evident emotion. What began as an unexpected connection between two individuals from different worlds has evolved into something more significant, she told the assembled guests. Today we don't just celebrate the union of Elias and Vera, we celebrate the possibility they represent, that differences can be bridges rather than barriers, that love can transcend biology, culture, and even the vast distances between stars. As Elias and Vera sealed their union with a kiss, her skin illuminated with joyful pulses that spread in waves across her body. Among the Australian guests, a ripple of answering luminescence spread, a cultural recognition that even the most traditional among them could not withhold. Later that night, alone in their quarters with the lights of Jupiter casting multicolored shadows through their viewport, they held each other close. Do you think we've changed anything? Fira asked, her head resting against Elias's chest. Beyond our own lives? Elias thought about the joint research initiative just approved by both governments, the cultural exchange program set to begin next year, the quiet changes in policy that were gradually opening doors previously, thought permanently closed. I think we've shown what's possible, he said, running his fingers through her iridescent hair. Sometimes that's all it takes to change everything. Vera's violet eyes met his and her skin glowed with the particular pattern he had come to recognize as love. When I first met you on Horizon Station, I never imagined where our path would lead. No? Elias smiled. I knew from the moment you kissed me that my universe would never be the same. Her answering smile held all the mystery and promise of the stars themselves. And it never will be, she whispered as she drew him closer. Two beings from different worlds finding their own perfect harmony in the vast symphony of the cosmos.